What you are seeing and hearing right now is nothing but a dream. You're dreaming right now, in this moment. You're dreaming with the brain awake. Dreaming is the main function of the mind, and the mind dreams 24 hours a day. It dreams when the brain is awake, and it also dreams when the brain is asleep. The difference is that when the brain is awake, there is a material frame that makes us perceive things in a linear way. When we go to sleep, we do not have the frame, and a dream has a tendency to change constantly. Humans are dreaming all the time. Before we were born, the humans before us created a big outside dream that we call society's dream, or the dream of the planet. The dream of the planet is the collective dream of billions of smaller personal dreams, which together create a dream of a family, a dream of a community, a dream of a city, a dream of a country, and finally a dream of the whole of humanity. The dream of the planet includes all of society's rules, its beliefs, its laws, its religions, its different cultures and ways to be, its government, schools, social events and holidays. We are born with the capacity to learn how to dream, and the humans who lived before us teach us how to dream the way society's dreams. The outside dream has so many rules that when a new human is born, we hook the child's attention and introduce these rules into his or her mind. The outside dream uses mum and dad, the schools and religion that teaches how to dream. Attention is the ability we have to discriminate and to focus only on that which we want to perceive. We can perceive millions of things simultaneously, but using our attention, we can hold whatever we want to perceive in the foreground of our mind. The adults around us hooked our attention and put information into our minds through repetition. That is the way we learn everything we know. By using our attention, we learn the whole reality or whole dream. We learn how to behave in society, what to believe and what not to believe, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, what is good and what is bad, what is beautiful, what is ugly, what is right and what is wrong. It was all there already. All that knowledge, all those rules, concepts about how to behave in the world. When you were in school, you sat in a little chair and put your attention on what the teacher was teaching you. When you went to church, you put your attention on what the priest or minister was telling you. It is the same dynamic with mum and dad, brothers and sisters. They were all trying to hook your attention. We also learned to hook the attention of other humans, and we developed a need for attention, which can become very competitive. Children compete for the attention of their parents, their teachers, their friends. Look at me, look what I'm doing. Hey, I'm here. The need for attention becomes very strong and continues into adulthood. The outside dream hooks our attention and teaches us what to believe, beginning with the language that we speak. Language, the code for understanding and communication between humans. Every letter, every word in each language is an agreement. Once we understand the code, our attention is hooked and the energy is transferred from one person to another. It was not your choice to speak English, but you didn't choose your religion or moral values, but they were already there before you were born. We never had the opportunity to choose what to believe or what not to believe. We never chose even the smallest of these agreements. We didn't even choose our own name. As children, we didn't have the opportunity to choose our beliefs, but we agreed with the information that was passed to us from the dream of the planet via other humans. The only way to store information is by agreement. The outside dream may hook our attention, but if we don't agree, we don't store that information. As soon as we agree, we believe this is called faith. To have faith is to believe unconditionally. That is how we learn as children. Children believe everything adults say. We agree with them, and our faith is so strong that the belief system controls our whole dream of life. We didn't choose these beliefs. We may have rebelled against them, but where we are not strong enough to win the rebellion, the result is surrender to the beliefs that power agreement. I call this process the domestication of humans, and through this domestication we learn how to live and how to dream. In human domestication, the information from the outside dream is conveyed to the inside dream, creating our whole belief system. First, the child is taught the names of things: mum, dad, milk, bottle, day by day, at home, at school, at church, and from television we are told how to live, what kind of behavior is acceptable. The outside dream teaches us how to be human. We have a whole concept of what a woman is and what a man is. We also learn to judge. We judge ourselves, we judge other people, we judge the neighbours. Children are domesticated the same way that we domesticate a dog, a cat, or any other animal. In order to teach a dog, we punish the dog and we give it rewards. We train our children, who we love so much, the same way. To be training any domesticated animals with a system of punishment and reward. We're told you're a good boy or you're a good girl. We do what mum and dad want us to do. We don't want to be a bad girl or a bad boy. When we went against the rules, we were punished. When we went along with the rules, we got a reward. We were punished many times a day, and we were also rewarded many times a day. Soon we became afraid of being punished, and also afraid of not receiving the reward. The reward is the attention that we got from our parents, from the other people like siblings, teachers and friends. We soon developed the need to hook other people's attention in order to get the reward. The reward feels good, and we keep doing what others want us to do in order to get the reward without fear of being punished. And that fear of not getting their reward, we start pretending to be what we are not, just to please others, just to be good enough for someone else. We try to please mum and dad, we try to please the teachers at school, we try to please the church, and so we start acting. We pretend to be what we are not because we are afraid of being rejected. The fear of being rejected becomes the fear of not being good enough. Eventually we become someone that we are not. We become a copy of mum's beliefs, dad's beliefs, society's beliefs, and religion's beliefs. All our normal tendencies are lost in the process of domestication. When we are old enough for our mind understand, we learn the word no. The adults say, don't do this and don't do that. We rebel and say no. Because we are defending our freedom, we want to be ourselves, but we are very little, and the adults are big and strong. After a certain time, we're afraid because we know that every time we do something wrong, we're going to be punished. The domestication is so strong that at a certain point in our life, we no longer need anyone to domesticate us. We don't need mum and dad, the school or the church to domesticate us. We are so well trained that we are our own domesticator. We're an auto-domesticated animal. We can now domesticate ourselves according to the same belief system we were given and using the same system of punishment and reward. We punish ourselves when we don't follow the rules according to our belief system. We reward ourselves when we are a good boy or a good girl, just as the government has a book of laws that rule the society's dream. Our belief system is the book of laws that moves our mind without question. Whatever is in that book of law is our truth. We base all of our judgments according to the Book of Law, even if these judgments go against our own inner nature. Even moral laws look like the Ten Commandments are programmed into our mind in the process of domestication. One by one, all these agreements go into the Book of Law, and these agreements rule our personal dream. There's something in our minds that judges everybody and everything, including the weather, the dog, the cat, everything. The inner judge uses what is in our Book of Law to judge everything we do and don't do, everything we think and don't think, and everything we feel and don't feel. Everything lives under the tyranny of this judge. Every time we do something that goes against the Book of Law, the judge says we're guilty and we need to be punished. We should be ashamed. This happens many times a day. We are guilty, we need to be punished. We should be ashamed. This happens many times a day. Day after day, for all the years of our lives. There's another part of us that receives the judgments. And this part is called the victim. The victim carries the blame, the guilt, the shame. It is the part of us that says, poor me, I'm not good enough, I'm not intelligent enough, I'm not attractive enough, I'm not worthy of love, poor me. The big judge agrees and says, yes, you're not good enough. And this is all based on belief system that we were never chosen to believe. These beliefs are so strong that even years later, when we're exposed to new concepts and try to make our own decisions, we find that these beliefs still control our lives. Whatever goes against the Book of Law will make you feel a funny sense in your solar plexus, and this is called fear. Breaking the rules in the Book of Law opens your emotional wounds, and your reaction is to create emotional poison, because even if the Book of Law is wrong, it makes you feel safe. Anything that challenges what you believe is going to make you feel unsafe. That is why we need a great deal of courage to challenge our own beliefs, because even if we know we didn't choose all these beliefs, it's also true that we agreed to all of them. The agreement is so strong that even if we understand the concept of it not being true, we feel the blame and guilt, the shame that occur if we go against these rules. All these laws exist in our mind. We believe them, and the judge inside us bases everything on these rules. The judge decrees and the victim suffers the guilt and punishment. But who says there is justice in this dream? True justice is paying only once for each mistake. True injustice is paying more than once for each mistake. How many times do we pay for one mistake? The answer is thousands of times. The human is the only animal on earth that pays thousands of times for the same mistake. The rest of the animals pay once for every mistake they make. But not us. We have a powerful memory. We make a mistake, we judge ourselves, we find ourselves guilty, and we punish ourselves. If justice exists and that was enough, we don't need to do it again. But every time we remember, we judge ourselves again, we are guilty again, and we punish ourselves again, and again, and again. If we have a wife or a husband, he or she also reminds us of a mistake, so we can judge ourselves again, punish ourselves again, and find ourselves guilty again. Is this fair? How many times do we make our spouse or children or our parents pay for the same mistake? Every time we remember the mistake, we blame them again and send them all the emotional poison we feel at the injustice, and then we make them pay again. Same mistakes. Is that justice? The judge in the mind is wrong because the belief system, the Book of Law, is wrong. The whole dream is based on false law. 95% of the beliefs we have stored in our minds are nothing but lies. and we suffer because we believe all these lies. In the dream of the planet, it is normal for humans to suffer, to live in fear, to create emotional dramas. The outside dream is not a pleasant dream. It is a dream of violence, a dream of fear, a dream of war, a dream of injustice. The personal dream of humans will vary, but globally it is mostly a nightmare. If we look at human society, we see a place so difficult to live in because it is ruled by fear. Throughout the world we see human suffering, anger, revenge, addictions, violence in streets, and tremendous injustice. It may exist at different levels in different countries around the world, but fear is controlling the outside dream. Do you live your life freely and in accordance with the real truth about yourself and your surroundings? Or growing up, did you gradually lose the ability to explore and create without judging yourself and others? If you agree to let go of the self-limiting habits that prevent you from seeing the real truth, you can recover this power. With these truths, you'll learn how to regain your normal human tendencies by committing to these 5 simple understandings that should guide your everyday life. Understanding number 1. We lose our natural human tendencies thanks to the process of domestication and the symbology we're taught. Every day, our mind is influenced by society and the people around us. Our parents and our environment teach us what they've learned and what they believe, and when we take on these beliefs, we become domesticated. Prior to domestication, we go about our normal tendencies without self-consciousness or self-judgment. That is, from the moment we are born, we have tendencies to explore, create, eat, and so on. And we act on these tendencies without question. When we reach toddlerhood, we frolic around naked and carefree without thinking, I'm too fat, and express our creativity without thinking, I painted with the wrong colours. We seek to fulfill our needs and instincts simply because it makes us happy. Gradually, though, we're introduced to symbology and use the symbols that we're taught during our upbringing to judge, punish ourselves and each other. But we do need symbology. It's how we express ourselves that means that the words we use are graphic symbols, that we've given a certain meaning in order to communicate through sound and writing. However, the symbology we're exposed to and taught when growing up is loaded with cultural and social values and norms. For instance, we might learn that we should go to church every Sunday to be a good Christian, or we should be skinny, smart and beautiful in order to experience a happy life. Unfortunately, many of us judge and punish ourselves and others for not fulfilling the different shoulds of symbology. And over time we lose the ability to behave in line with our normal human tendencies, the unself-conscious toddler in all of us. Understanding number 2. Our knowledge and truth become relative through symbology. As we grow up, we make agreements with one another and with ourselves. One agreement is to share certain symbologies through which we can communicate. Like language, as we learned in the last understanding. You're only able to comprehend what you are reading and hearing now because you agree with the writer on the meaning of the words. Here the key word is agree. It's not about universal truth. The symbology we're taught feels true because we agree that the symbols hold a certain value or meaning, not because it's the absolute truth. A tree, for instance, is true, but the word tree would have no meaning or value to a Chinese person who doesn't understand the English language. So if we don't agree on a particular symbology, we cannot extract meaning from it. Therefore, symbology is a relative truth, rather than a real truth, since its meaning is solely dependent on people and context. Furthermore, as our wider knowledge is based on shared symbology, It can be understood as relative truth. When we perceive our environment and those around us, this will becomes our truth. And through the symbology that is passed on to us, we form entire belief systems about the objects and people which become our knowledge. In addition, the various religions, philosophies and ways of thinking create our knowledge and come about through agreements we make with those around us about shared symbology. For example, in some regions of the world, people have agreed that there is only one Almighty God, while in other areas people have agreed on multiple gods. Everything we know is therefore a symbology shared amongst certain people, and since the symbology isn't the same for all of us, it can only be relative truth. So if the majority of what you perceive about yourself is a relative truth created through symbology, how do you know who you really are? By following these 5 understandings. Understanding number 3. The first agreement: be faultless in your use of words. Words are a powerful creation tool. We use them all the time, but many of us don't fully fathom just how much words matter. When you use words charged with self-judgment and self-rejection, you're using words against yourself. We actually create our life stories through words, but when we speak with self-judgment and self-rejection, the words we use are destructive. For instance, by telling yourself, "I'm not beautiful, skinny or smart," you are using words to judge yourself. But what if you became aware of how you use words against yourself? You could replace these words and create a new and better story about yourself. You could even take it further and, by using words faultlessly, narrate a beautiful story about yourself that brings you joy. Using words faultlessly means using them to your benefit and not contaminating the story of your life with destructive self-judgments. If you can train yourself to do this, your fears of being judged or rejected will fade, because you'll know they're just symbology, relating to norms, and that symbology is only relative truth. So the next time someone uses the word against you, or when you use the word against yourself by talking about your inadequacies, you'll be able to pinpoint and see beyond the symbology and perceive the negativity as mere words. Eventually, fear of rejection and judgment dissipates, and desires and intentions in your life will unfold. Understanding number 4. The second agreement: stop taking everything personally. Remember a time when a family member or friend didn't understand your way of thinking and how hurt or angry you felt about it. We've all experienced this, but there is really no use in taking misunderstandings or negative opinions to heart. It's vital to remember that the opinions that people hold about you only concern their personal image of you. What they think about you isn't the real you. If you were watching a movie about yourself which you'd written and directed, and later watched a movie about your mother which she'd written and directed, they wouldn't share many similarities, even though all the characters would be the same, including you and your mother. They would be portrayed in the way the movie makers saw them. This is because you view yourself in a certain way, and this would come through and your movie, but as you watch your mother's movie, you'd realize that she sees you differently. Everyone lives the story that they've created about themselves. We form opinions based on the story we've created, but this is simply an image, not the truth. It's important to remember that opinions are grounded in personal perceptions that often don't correspond with your own. To free yourself, you must agree to stop taking other people's opinions personally. Whatever your parents, friends or co-workers think or say about you isn't the real you. Therefore, it makes no sense to take these opinions personally, as you no longer have to worry about the opinions other people have about you. You'll be freer to do whatever you desire, because you'll feel immune to judgment. Understanding number 5. The third agreement: stop making assumptions, and you can focus your energy on the actual truth. Have you ever made a false assumption about why someone was late or didn't show up to your meeting or date? Most people make assumptions that turn out to be false, and this can create unnecessary worry and drama. As humans, we have a need to predict, explain, and justify events that happen in our lives, and when we're uncertain about something, we fill in the gaps by imagining what people are thinking, doing, and feeling. But all these assumptions are lies that we tell ourselves, and when we buy into them, we can create hurt and worry. Imagine that you have a daughter who is out partying with her friends, and one night she doesn't make her curfew. You'd immediately jump to conclusions and think, what if something terrible's happened? And a whole host of scenarios start streaming through your mind. Then a few minutes later, your daughter arrives home safely with a big smile on her face, proving that the drama in your mind was created by your assumptions. There is a far better way to spend your time and energy than making assumptions, and that is to focus on the actual truth. When we do this, the energy that we would have otherwise invested into making assumptions is used more wisely. For instance, if you assume that a man is evil due to some beliefs he has that differ from your own, then you've distorted the truth by creating an assumption, and all your energy is drained by this distortion. Understanding number 6. The fourth agreement. Do your best and incorporate the agreements into your life. You've now learned about 3 agreements. Be faultless with your words, don't take anything personally, and don't make assumptions. But how can you integrate these into your life? By dedicating yourself to the 4th agreement, always doing your best. When you do your best, you'll find that the first 3 agreements will manifest far more easily in your life. The first 3 agreements will spark positive change in your life, but mastering them won't be possible if you don't practice them to the best of your ability. By doing your best, your old integrated habits of being lazy or unscrupulous with words, of always taking what people say to heart and making assumptions about other people's behavior will slowly die out, and gradually you'll begin to regain control over your life. So how do you go about doing this? You must practice them as much as you can. The person you are today wasn't created overnight. Who you are and who you behave is a result of lifelong practice. Imagine all of the skills you've acquired throughout your life, whether it's speaking, reading, or riding your bike. You'd be clueless about these things if you hadn't practiced them frequently. Therefore, repetitive practice is essential if you want to incorporate the 3 agreements into your life. Practice is the only way, but it requires patience. So don't fret if you fail to immediately master all of them at the same time. Understanding number 7. The 5th agreement. Be skeptical, but learn to listen. Everyone wants to express their point of view by telling stories about their experience of the world. But how do you know which of the stories are true? By committing to the 5th agreement of being skeptical, to thoroughly explore what symbology people are using in their storytelling. You have to be skeptical of what is being communicated. This means agreeing with yourself to not naively buy into everything you hear, and to look behind the symbols. When someone communicates a message to you, ask yourself if this is the real truth or relative truth. By doing so, you'll become open to the truth that lies behind the symbols and words. For instance, when you hear a personal story, don't blindly agree with a person's point of view, but try to abstain from judgment also. Remember though that being skeptical isn't about discarding everything that everyone says to fully understand what people are communicating, their intentions and their point of view. You also have to learn to listen, so listen to how they express symbols while acknowledging that their point of view will be coloured by their beliefs, By listening in this way, it's easier to choose how to react. For instance, you'll probably want to ignore someone who's telling you you're not smart enough or good looking enough. By being a little skeptical, you'll be better able to discern that what they're communicating is only their relative truth and not a real truth that you have to react to. Be faultless with your words. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best. And be skeptical, but learn to listen.